Just a man animal looking for a home. You are listening to Watching Worst Films. We are back, baby. Back in action. Jericho Reed and Kyle Szymanski
As always,
back in the hot
hello.
seat.
Back alive, feeling refreshed.
Yeah, alive and kicking. And we are bringing you, at last, our episode on Battlefield Earth. That's right, Scientology. You are escaping the keen eye of Watching Worst Films no longer. We are the podcast that watches every Golden Raspberry Award winner, and you're joining us for the home stretch as we watch one of the three final films we have yet to cover, which is 2000's Battlefield Earth. So let's make up for lost time. Kyle, what is your experience with this film?
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Quite knowledgeable, I guess, or interest in Scientology.
I
in
was
general.
raised in the Church of Scientology
I-
from the age of 4.
I have had a Thetan test. I've had my E-meter reading done
Yeah.
down south.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fucked. There's a lot.
Midichlorian count
There's a
off
lot
the
of
scale.
Xenu's influence on me, unfortunately. But anyway, I've seen this film more than a few times when I was a kid. The cover is iconic. Again, we always bring up this is a VHS store, front and center. I remember this one. It's imprinted. I remember renting this though, and it would have been about 10 or 11. So
Yeah.
in a sci-fi, like probably like Event Horizon, I would have been swallowing up at this time. Like Terminator 3 would have been on the horizon. Like
Yeah.
I'm into my sci-fi, what's coming out. So I remember renting this, thinking Star Wars, thinking it's going to be this big, epic, fantastic thing for kids.
Well, it was
And-
the new Star
And then
Wars.
this is my biggest memory of it, and it's weird because it happened again. I remember turning it off as a kid. Like I remember like the first half so well,
Yeah.
and then just getting bored and just losing interest and turning it off to put on The Simpsons or the TV. And but the funny thing is, I do remember renting it again. You know, because you think maybe
Wow.
maybe it's better, and you're a stupid kid. You know,
Yeah.
I rented those Ewok films of Star Wars countless times.
I don't think I had that. I think I was just like, I want to watch Aladdin, Prince of Thieves over and over again.
Oh, no.
Return of the Jafar, I might have not finished, and that was it. You've lost your one chance.
No,
I'm
no.
out.
Desperation. We didn't have that much VHS. But also, you know, I'm a stupid kid, and there's slower films I loved as a kid that took a while, like Alien,
Yeah.
Terminator 1. I had to watch them many times because
As a 4-year-old, I wasn't on board with the pacing of
I
Alien.
wasn't. I was just like
Aliens, on the
Aliens
other
and
hand.
Terminator
but-
2
yeah.
got me, but so maybe I thought this is Cameron, this is a Ridley, this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
I never finished it, so I did try a lot as a kid, and ever since then I was put off to even in an ironic, joking way to watch it again. I just fuck this film. So until now, this is probably legit 21 years apart viewings,
Yeah.
and yes, I still struggle to finish it. So yeah, I've got a lot of backstory with this film. What about yourself?
Have you ever read the book?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have L. Ron Hubbard's jazz album, but I do not. I will not read his books.
My experience with it, I have also seen it, but my history cannot be more different from yours. I knew it as the weird kind of like ape movie. Like I got it confused with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes because they came out around about the same time.
That's a one, so yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is the movie where Mark Wahlberg gets chased by John Travolta
Yeah.
around a quarry. And then I didn't watch this until probably like after university when mutual friends of ours, the twins, forced a DVD of it into my possession. It's like, oh, you have to watch this, Jez. One of the worst movies ever made. And so I watched it and I was just bored.
Yeah.
It's more interesting as an artifact than it is as a film.
Yes.
And so I wasn't looking forward to rewatching this just because that was my expectation, was it was just going to be a bit of a grind to get through and nothing particularly entertaining. So with that in mind, let's get started. On a budget of $44 million, how much do you think this made?
I thought it was higher. I thought it was like 100 mil. I'm gonna go 25 to 30, like
Okay.
over half.
Yeah, I'd probably have guessed around the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, 29.7 million.
Boom.
So
I
there
was
you go.
thinking that, like, again, I rented this probably 4 times as a kid, and
Mm-hmm.
I live in Aberdeen, so like that's I assume the reach and Scientologists and the advertising, it made some people went to see it. Nowhere near enough to make money or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, so on IMDb trivia it says the film's budget went from Fox Pictures' $100 million price tag, there you go, to a measly $44 million once Franchise Pictures picked up the project. That's a difference of $56 million that would have been spent on special effects, production design, casting, and music, as well as John Travolta's salary of $20 million. Despite accepting a $10 million pay cut, Travolta's salary is what ate up most of the budget, leaving the film with minimal chances to succeed with limited resources and low-rent special effects. It also says on Wikipedia, in 2007, Franchise Pictures was sued by its investors and went bankrupt after a merger that had fraudulently overstated the film's budget by $31 million. This, coupled with the film's poor reception, ended Travolta's plans for a sequel.
I'm going to think, there's a few things there. One, it's insane that John Travolta as a leading man was expected to sell this film and warrant that. I know this is post Pulp Fiction, but this is post Pulp Fiction. This is...
how long ago was Face Off?
98.
Okay, still kind of...
He's sharing the time there with Cage, though.
No, that's two leads. Two hot Hollywood.
If Cage and Travolta were in this film, it would have sold more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's two names there. I don't think he could pull it. I don't think Whitaker's as big enough a name. I think this is... I think in 2000 you can get a sci-fi made with John Travolta. And it would sell?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I disagree. The other point there, though, I do think the budget was $100 million. I think there's a lot of lies. I think Travolta probably got paid $20 million, and this is now retroactively. I took a pay cut. Like, you're muddling numbers to try and save your, especially if you went bankrupt, especially if you're getting sued. You're downplaying. No. This only cost $44 million. We didn't.
Yeah.
I bet you Scientology money was running through this. That's why they always want to get into movies, music, and media. Like, I
thought it was to influence hearts and minds. I thought this was just like an advert.
Naivety,
I thought it was like, we kind of like make this to draw people into the cult, and once we've got people there, then money comes from them, as opposed to
that's a very Christian way of thinking of it. I think like I've always seen Scientology as yes, if it worked, then that's a bonus, and we can draw people in and grab them.
Yeah,
but they are a corporation, aren't they? They're not really a...
Anyway, we're now having a conversation that only you and I will hear when the lawyers for the Church of Scientology force us to redact our podcast.
This movie was great.
Okay, my next note is actually the score was all right.
Yeah, right. So I'm
at least in the first 30 seconds.
I'm so glad you have notes, because I need to have some context. I have no notes.
Yeah.
I watched this in a fever. I was very ill.
So did I. Yeah.
I took 3 times to try and watch this, and I still failed. I still topped out at the very end.
Yeah.
So my notes are a mixture between hallucinations, memories, and what I did remember. So you're going to be carrying this, and I'm going to be chipping in from what clicks.
Yeah, so we start off with like a sort of Star Wars-esque scroll about it's the year 3000, humanity is all but extinct, and does it set up the cyclos there?
I think it does. Yeah, so even this is my first memory. I hate the fact that it's year 3000. That just screams 50s cheap sci-fi. Pop, like you don't do like John Carpenter would be in 19XX or something.
Yeah.
Or the distant future or something.
My beloved David Foster Wallace, Year of the Deep End to Hamburger, Year of the Whataburger, whatever, subsidized time. Yeah.
Or just pull a completely... random number. 2097 too. Right, Blade Runner. It just pulls.
Our beloved Justin Roiland. Oh, it's the year of the Schlami, the Glebe. It's 2000 in Glebe.
So this bugged me, and this is like, I think it is like the second line. Yeah, it's like the year is 3000.
Yeah.
Already, it's establishing that this is a hack writer.
Nice round number, Kyle. Nice round number. It's the year 2000. 1,000 years in the future. That's what it is. Yeah.
Is
humanity has been wiped out, but yet our fuck. What's the name of the calendar? What's the calendar we use? The Gregorian. Is that it? The Gregorian. Here we are, just revealing ourselves as the ignoramus that we are.
It's not the Julian calendar, it's the Gregorian.
Yeah, the Gregorian calendar is being used across the galaxy nothing else of human culture has survived. But the calendar, they're like, oh, you know what? They were onto that.
But that's-
Despite the fact that we have a different sun.
That's again, this isn't going to be a Scientology episode, but that's the funniest part of L. Ron Hubbard. You know, the Boeing 747s taking the souls. The really like mundane things that he pulls in. You know, it's the future that's on the planet is LORP.
Yeah.
But they all drive
and they have a
Chevrolets.
Costco. Yeah.
I love that so much. It is in this film as well because we get to it. You know, we get to the planet, the apes, things that was probably what's confusing you even further.
You maniacs.
But yeah, that's I won't stick on Scientology in the opening text too long, but yeah.
So Cyclos, that's my next note, is whether it's in the opening text or whether it's in one of the very early scenes, the Cyclos are introduced as the antagonists of the film, which are this alien species, and they are very tall. Do you want to talk about the design of the Cyclos?
I mean, I hate it.
It's hideous.
Before you even go there, I hate the name Cyclos. Again, that is very 13-year-old. You know, Ultraman versus the Cyclos or something.
Okay, well, I was gonna speak about this after we'd spoken about them on an aesthetic level, but like it didn't. I don't think it registered for me on the first viewing that they're a stand-in for like psychiatrists and psychologists because obviously Scientology hates conventional medical and psychiatric science. And so like this movie is kind of disappointing because I don't really know that much about Scientology. Part of it's probably by design is that it's kind of like a closed box where like I don't know anyone who knows that much about it, but I'm interested in learning. And if this was more of a reflection of the values of Scientology, I'd be interested. And the Cyclos, this is mostly just like a generic sci-fi film with only just like the slightest drops of Scientology essence. And the Cyclos being like, we're going to sit you down and make you talk about your feelings and there will be no jumping on couches on Oprah. Like that kind of was where they had me.
Yes.
But yeah, the Cyclos, they are tall. They're like, what,
tall.
maybe 8 feet
9 feet tall.
Yeah, and they have dreadlocks. They're white guys with dreadlocks for the most part.
Somewhere between what's Robbie
Hagrid.
Hagrid. Fuck's sake, that's bad. It's sort of his build.
Yeah.
Like you've got like a fat suit underneath.
Yeah.
You have dreadlocks.
Big platform shoes.
Platform shoes with a Dutch angle to increase your 8 foot, 9 foot.
Yeah.
And then some face. It's a bit Klingon-y.
Yeah.
It's somewhere between a Klingon and Hagrid and Predator 2.
Yeah.
It's like you stick it in a blender, but it doesn't look good. It does still look like John Travolta, is my biggest problem with eyebrows.
Yeah, I don't think it looks as bad as everyone
It doesn't look.
thinks.
It's not a bad costume.
It's just not an inspiring design.
It's as you've been talking about the plot and everything about it. It's just bland and generic as fuck.
Yeah.
Like it is. Again, I'm going to say it's like a 50s Flash Gordon serial villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's a Doctor Who, lesser Star Trek, whatever.
It's just a throwaway fucking thing. It's not the big bad main poster that you're building your entire film and franchise about.
It's not like the Prometheus guys.
But if you're saying that, like you're saying Prometheus, Alien is on the cover. Alien design took you how long? It looks like a fucking alien. Like you're basing your whole film around your design. Do that here? You know, it's the biggest problem, even with the religion itself, is the lack of creativity. Like I don't like the Scientology way of just everything's so fucking bland and generic, and I don't hate them. Like I don't think they look terrible.
You're right. It's like like I can't tell exactly what they were going for. If you're like, it's still like they look humanoid enough that it just looks like John Travolta going to a fancy dress party, where like you could make them look more humanoid and it would be less of the uncanny valley, or you can make them look more weird and stylized.
But that's the point. That's what you're even touching on Star Trek. Like Klingons, you can put Christopher Lloyd under the makeup and not notice it's Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
It still looks like an alien that's connected.
Yeah.
You'd like, and that's a TV show, you know, cheap movies, cheaper budgets in here. They needed someone creative. They needed someone outside to come in and to take over this.
Yeah.
But saying that though, like it's just lazy. It's not. It isn't. I've looked at worse. We've looked at worse.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, so these are the Cyclos. This is our big bads.
Yeah. Next note, gold. I love gold. The Cyclos love gold.
They do, that's
Call
it.
me weird, but I like gold.
Yeah. So this is how Elrond or whoever the writer is gives us their motivation, their characters and their personalities.
Yeah.
The Cyclones are obsessed with gold. I'm gonna try and remember this from A Fever Dream.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's radioactive. Is why they can't do it, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So the Cyclos want to mine for gold, but there's an issue with radioactivity.
Yes.
Which means they need human slaves.
Slaves.
And that's why you get like, is there some atmospheric thing where like the humans are wearing nose plugs on the
Yeah.
cyclo environment and the Cyclos are wearing nose plugs?
There's
the
something
human
to do with the
environment.
plugs. I couldn't remember if that was to do with radioactivity or atmosphere. I didn't care. It might be something to do with that. But they love gold. Can't get enough of it.
So my next note, for fuck's sake, I'd completely forgotten about the aesthetic to this film. Like, that was my biggest takeaway on first viewing, is that it's just sci-fi channel caliber graphics and these weird kind of like color flashes and like color filters. And I just remembered, like, I remembered it looked hideous, but I thought that was all Dutch ankles.
No.
And I was like, oh no, I'd forgotten that like the color palette is just very ugly to look at here.
It doesn't. I also have to add. I am colorblind, and
Yeah.
I struggle with this film, like
Yeah.
because all of it gets washed out,
Yeah.
and they're dull blue filters. I can tell. I know what they are, but they've obviously been turned down, and
Yeah.
my vision of this film makes it look like I'm watching it on Channel 5, and I've got to just do my contrast and my brightness. It's
Dating ourselves with that reference.
um,
When you
the
huddle around the wireless and
when I rented this in the video shop, didn't date me, but yeah. So like this is an ugly looking film. Like not even just the cinematography, like you're saying, just the colors, the visual, the frame itself, even if it's just a normal shot, looks worse. Like you put effort into making it more ugly.
Yeah.
Which is impressive, but yeah, like we have to talk about it because this is the whole fucking film as well. It doesn't. I mean, obviously, it goes with Cyclos have their colors and their tilts more when we're outside and when we're in later on. It does change a bit, but it's an ugly motherfucking film. There's no way around it.
Okay, I'm now just realizing how little of my notes relate to the actual film itself. So how do we start? Because it's important to introduce Johnny Goodboy.
Big Mr. Barry Pepper.
Johnny Goodboy is the protagonist
He is
of
indeed.
this film.
He is. He's the hero. He's a slave.
Yeah. Does he start out as a slave, or is he just like
I think so. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if they were all just kind of like indigenous earthlings and then they're roped into slavery by the Cyclos.
You
at the
are
beginning.
asking the wrong man, I'm afraid. I remember. I mean, I can go through this whole film. I can do my footnotes because I remember the things. I know the points. I remember the big beats. I remember the middle. I know Johnny's relationship with Travolta, which is Tarl.
My name is Earl Turl.
Turl. I'm glad you had a fucking memory trick. So yeah, he's a slave. I think he's already a slave.
Okay, yeah.
correct
It doesn't
me if I'm wrong.
matter.
It doesn't
It does
fucking
not
matter.
matter.
None
He
of this
becomes a
matters.
slave very quickly if he doesn't start
Yes.
as one. We're just going to go sequentially here, I guess. At some point, this is why I'm like, I don't know if they start out in Cyclo custody. Or maybe, do they maybe start on a...
camp.
Yeah, do they maybe start in like a labor camp and then the Cyclos...
desert and the Cyclos come and then they take Johnny.
Yeah, because there's...
them all the
Because
later.
this is my note. Man attacks beast / cave painting. That weird sequence where like, is it a Cyclos looking at the cave painting and there's someone outside fighting with a beast until we discover like it's a fiberglass.
Yeah.
It's like Five Nights at Freddy's or Storybook Glen.
Yes.
They're just like fighting with a
Which is like
with a big dinosaur made out of fiberglass.
so it's like Plato's cave.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
him,
exactly.
yeah,
Ooh,
like-
it's a high minded.
It's a highbrow there, Mr. Travolta.
Yeah.
Because they are all living this it's like again, it's a very Planet of the Apes like slave breakdown.
Yeah.
Regressing of society and
Yeah.
only fragments of the past of names. Like Johnny. What's his last name? Johnny Boy. Something.
Good Boy.
Good Boy. That's the one. Johnny Boy is what I'm calling him.
John Bible. So my next note is McDonald's postman vibes, because we're also in a post-apocalyptic setting where very little of Earth as we know it survives. Like, it's just like an arid wasteland, isn't it? There's like no buildings or anything.
There's 1,000
but
years.
yeah, theme parks.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that like
I mean, again, like, you've got to be consistent. I can dig Planet of the Apes that they kept a monument and hid it on a beach or whatever or something, but destroyed the rest of the planet. The pick and choose of what survives, and we will get to this because there's a certain document that survived even longer than 1,000 years. But yeah, it's weird how no cities exist.
Yeah.
No roads, no infrastructures, but
Yeah.
theme parks, indestructible.
I'm just imagining, you know, that guy in Aberdeen who makes like the Christmas stuff for his garden, like has the weird Shreks. I'm just imagining his house with just like this weird, like cursed version of Shrek just existing beneath the rubble. So he, like, Johnny Goodboy, I think, is speaking about like way back before the fall, before the dark times, before the Empire. There was McDonald's, and he's speaking about, he's waxing lyrical about the golden arches.
So they do get caught there. I think you were right. They weren't slaves.
Okay.
Because then that's when John Travolta captures Johnny Boy, isn't it? Because he is somewhat of a remnant. Doesn't fucking matter, right? It really doesn't fucking
really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
It's
the fact
so
that we can't
irrelevant.
recall is because it doesn't matter.
Johnny Boy gets caught.
Yeah.
And we get pretty quickly their confrontation. Probably 15 minutes in now. Have you got notes? If you've not got notes, I'm just going to fly through this.
Yeah. My notes is just the setup of the post-apocalyptic. Like, they're pining for McDonald's because they're like, okay, well, you know, we need to recoup some of that $100 million budget. We can't have them eat a Big Mac, unfortunately. But they're just going to do product placement in the form of gathering around a campfire and being like, do you remember we could get a Happy Meal?
Yeah. What do you think of the post-apocalyptic?
Yeah. Like, Battlefield Earth is a cool title. It's
a great
evocative.
title. It's a great
It's
title.
like, wow. It's like kind of like the opening to Master and Commander. Like, it is the year 3000. Earths are now battlefields.
Well, it evokes that Star Wars, you know, it's a fight in space. You know,
Yeah,
right?
it's like Marvel's Secret Wars.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a battle planet. Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a very
cool.
cool title.
And it's a very uncool movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to touch on the post-apocalyptic thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's fine.
Okay, because, I mean, we've watched The Postman and stuff.
Yeah,
for this
nothing's
podcast.
going to hit the postman, obviously.
At this time, I probably would have seen the Escape films from John Carpenter.
Yeah.
They were probably my post-apocalyptic sort of barometer.
Yeah.
And the last two Mad Max films.
Yeah.
So Road Warrior and Thunderdome would have been... Those four films would have been what I'd been basing off post-apocalyptic. And I thought this looked like shit when I was a kid. And I still think it looks shit.
It looks crap, yeah. Like, it looks crap and it doesn't make sense.
There's a
Because
lot-
all of these films are like 100 years at most. This is a millennium.
Yes.
And we're meant to believe that humanity's been eradicated and they're
Yeah.
whistling over McDonald's.
Yes.
And they're looking at like theme
but-
parks. Like, it's just,
So there's this golden rule I always think of with spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
And so obviously you can't film in a desert in America. You go out to the south of Italy, go to Bari and film it there. And there's one of my favorite films called Django Kill, which was too cheap to film in Italy.
Yeah.
So film went to Spain
Okay,
because it was even cheaper there, and filmed a lot of it in a quarry.
Yeah.
And that's why I think of this film.
Yeah.
Because the director always says, like, the cheapest way was a quarry. Like, that's
Yeah.
it cost us nothing, and it looks cheap. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, nothing in this film.
That was, done for 10 pesos or whatever the fuck, lira or whatever it was at the time. This is a big budget thing. There's no fucking excuse to be sticking around like rocks, fields, and quarries and stuff. Like, it's so fucking lazy and cheap. And even as a kid, I knew that. I'm going from Phantom Menace to this, like, whoa, what the fuck happened?
This looks perfectly good as an episode of Doctor Who, but as a feature film, you're like,
100
what
million.
is...
Like, I know they're saying 44 million. Even if a 44 million and you can't make it look.
Listen, John Travolta needs to pay his bills.
Jesus. So yeah, I just want to rag on. I really hate how it looks.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I just mean conceptually, I'm interested in the idea of humanity being extinct and what kind of remains.
But that's what the Postman touched on.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like the Postman. Yeah, nothing in this film is good, really. Then they get this, I think, is where they get kidnapped by the Cyclos, or they get transferred from one Cyclo thing to another. They end up at the Human Processing Center, which is in Denver. And is that not where the Satanist airport is? So I just thought it was interesting. Is Scientology trying to communicate something there? Who knows? For listeners who aren't aware of the Denver Satanist airport, what is it's they have like is that
So that's just a strange line to say.
Just because I've had listeners draw up, they're like, yeah, you and Kyle are great. I can't remember what euphemisms people have used. They're like, you and Kyle are so knowledgeable. You and Kyle are so neurodiverse that you share all the same interests. But it might be good if you would explain to listeners who...
So what is the Denver Satan Airport?
The Denver Satan Airport is... I'm trying to think of the origin. It's like, do they have like a horse statue?
Yeah.
They have like a creepy statue, and people have done... It's like... It's obviously the international airport in Denver, and started off with something which caught people's attention of like, oh, this horse thing is kind of creepy. And then people have dug into it, and it's kind of spawned out into be more of this thing. And it's people have said like, oh, it's on some fault line as a gateway to the.
So that's actually what I thought it was. I got it wrong. It is. You're right. It's a giant horse called Lucifer, the demon horse of Denver.
Yeah, there we go.
But I forgot that part. I just thought people had used it as the gateway, like it was an evil airport that had become because of. I thought it was a painting.
John Carpenter presents Evil Airport.
Sign me up.
A novel by Stephen King.
But it is noticeable for its striking appearance and for it killed its sculptor Luis Jimenez when a section of him fell on his studio. So it has that sort of curse attached to it already.
Yeah. And there's lots of associated myths and rumours about it because it's just become the Satanist airport.
But to me, in L. Ron Hubbard, why picking such an arbitrary place as Denver makes me like... I think Denver, it's Colorado. I think it's South Park probably. I'm like, that's probably where we're going to go now. The Cyclones are going to go and have themselves a time. So like, I don't know, but why aren't they going... Why does Denver still exist 1,000 years, like...
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
exactly. Like nothing of humanity has remained except the U.S. states and the Gregorian calendar.
But this is where I'm saying the laziness. It's not even like New Denver, Nuevo Denver, or something. It's just the same. Nothing's happened. What the fuck have they been doing for 1,000 years?
Yeah. So that is my next note. Travolta is fucked. Because we get like a middle management Cyclo meeting with the Cyclo Home Office.
Yeah, because that's so for context with the listeners. John Travolta is banished.
He's kind of sent on it's like
punishment.
Yeah, traffic duty. He's sent to go and work in the Home Office dealing with. He's sent to be basically like a slave foreman on Earth, because he says, "Tell the senator if I had even an inkling that was his daughter."
Yes.
Because we get a meeting.
Because they never tell you what it is, though. That's all you get. Yeah.
It's just horny John Travolta.
Horny straight alien John Travolta.
Okay. Let's not libel ourselves any further.
None of those things. No slander. Yeah. So that's why. Because that's what I thought it was. I was imagining it like, on Football Manager when I send a lone player out to Carlisle as punishment to you redeem yourself in my eyes. He's this bureaucrat. It's very Futurama, you're right. It's very Hermes. I've been stuck in like this bureaucrat, and I don't get this as well. Like I don't understand all this, and this is probably where it lost me as a kid. Simple slaves, bad oppressors, I can get behind, but the bureaucratic nature of it, the sort of...
Obviously, the high point for this is the Nemoidians in Phantom Menace and their trade disputes.
Well, that's it.
That I can get on board with.
It's like Travolta and Lucas watched Brazil. I can do that.
So I'd forgotten about the weird ass little Halo guy, the language slave jellyfish guy, the hologram, who he teaches John Boy the Cyclo language. Because John Boy's what? He's just wandering through the ship somewhere and he comes across this little hologram who has he's like CGI, isn't he? And a friend of the show, Callum, wanted to single out the design of the Cyclos. including the one in the meeting who like has 8 chins.
Oh yeah.
Because we get a bunch of different cyclos when John Travolta is getting disciplined for sleeping with the senator's daughter, and that's probably when Forrest Whitaker is introduced as well, isn't it?
Yes.
So he's the most prominent cyclo that isn't Travolta.
Yes. I mean, it is the two of them. I mean, that's what the budget...
Yeah.
The lean, tiny budget can only stretch to 2 cyclones
Yeah.
on screen at one time. They're pointing out the other ones, though, like, is brief, but I at least light up a little bit. It's like... It is, again, I can't keep saying it, Star Trek. I like it when they show, like, the diversity in a race and you're not just copy and pasting. I'm glad people look... I'm glad they at least look some sort of identifiable and separate.
Yeah, some diversity in design is nice,
That is nice.
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay, so John Boy has learnt the cyclo language, and he then
rapid as well. It's really fucking quick.
Because it's one of those just like
boom.
Matrix. We've uploaded kung fu into your brain, and then
I thought, right, again, this could be the fever. I thought Travolta's impressed by how quick he can pick up things as well. Is it that work?
Does Travolta know that he's got it from the Halo guy, or is Travolta?
I don't remember.
I think Travolta's just like, oh, you've been studying. You're a quick learner, aren't you?
Okay. That he's smarter than the other animals, kind of.
Yeah, sort of smarter than the other man animals, smarter than your average man animal. Because I'm assuming that I don't. Again, this movie, the fact that both of us watched it while slipping in and out of consciousness, maybe not ideal, but I thought it was that like he was kind of like trespassing on the ship, and they didn't want him. I thought he was basically doing something forbidden by.
But that's what brings the attention, right?
Yeah, but then I'm like, but surely it would be in the cyclo's interest to have like a translator. Like if you're using slaves, you want.
You want to know what they're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, you want do you want to be able to like?
You need an insider there.
Well, just give instructions. Like, okay, you're going to do this. Yeah, you want not to be babbling in a foreign language to them.
Very true. But you have to say now, though, that none of the Cyclones' plans make sense. They are, Travolta is an idiot.
This isn't a good fleshed out world.
No, like, he is presented as, like, smarter, higher IQ, he's quicker reflexes.
He's, like, the renegade cop of, like, he's the, like, this is beneath him. Mm-hmm. We're meant to be like, oh, he's too good for this
Lethal Weapon,
job.
he's Mel Gibson.
Yeah, exactly, He's too good for the duty they've got him pulling. Okay, my next note. This is a triangle.
Oh, yeah. Took a while there. I was like, fuck, no, we missed a bit.
Yeah, we're leaping on.
Okay.
Radically. If you can fill in the gaps, then by all means.
Okay. No, I'm not going to be able to fill in the gap. I'm sure. I'm trying to think of where we're skipping about. Fill them in on the triangle. I'll fill in. I'll see what gap I'm thinking of.
Okay, so John Boy then, like, they go and they're exploring Earth, I think. They're then sent on gold duty because Travolta is like, your shithole planet does still have some resources, so you're going to obtain the gold for us because your environment's toxic to us. And don't even get me started on what happens when water gets spilled on us, because no bueno. And then the John Boy becomes educated in human culture, and he shares his knowledge with his fellow inmates, slaves.
So yeah, I mean, you actually nailed it on the head quite concisely there. The triangle of wisdom and knowledge is weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like, I know what it does.
Yeah.
I know it opens and shows them everything, but why? Why does it exist? And why have the Cyclones like not used it from? Again, when you're touching on the language thing, and like, why don't they use this thing? And why doesn't everyone know everything?
Well, yeah, the humans are just like illiterate. As he's just explaining, this is a triangle. It has like 3 sides, and they're like,
they're quick though. They're quick learners for 1,000 years.
Well, man, animals. That's the point, isn't it? Yeah. Like, we've become like flabby and lazy, but at man animal's core there is some primal ability, some innate. So do you want to talk about man animal?
No, you go.
Okay.
I know what I'm talking
Steering
about.
clear of man animal.
I've got things I want to talk about.
The Cyclos call humans man animals. Yes. And it says in the IMDb trivia that the phrase man animal is said 28 times over the course of the film, which I I'd have been a little more.
I would have been higher than that.
Yeah, I thought that was a little conservative. It's like those things where they're like, the word fuck and its derivations are said 234 times over the course of Reservoir Dogs. I would have thought that this film might have the most uses of man-animal.
So I'm pretty sure Travolta refers to pretty much everyone as just like, shut it, man-animal.
Yeah, exactly. He's never like, come here, my good friend Johnny Goodboy. He's like, man-animal.
Box. Yeah, like...
Man-animal. Take that box, pass it to another man-animal. That, like, have you seen that episode of Dexter's Lab where they...
I've never seen Dexter's Lab.
You've never seen Dexter's Lab?
No, Dexter's Lab.
Okay. There is like an episode where they run amok with a label maker, listeners, if you know, and they label everything Dee Dee or Dexter, and the dad comes home and is like, the Dee Dee's off the hook, the Dexter's been left open, someone hasn't changed the Dee Dee in the Dexter, and has anyone walked the Dexter? He's just like, give that to the man animal, and that man animal needs to pass that to that man animal. Has that man animal done his taxes yet? Like, he should at least number them.
Numbers.
And then we could get the, I am not a man animal, I am a free man.
Numbering is what George Lucas would have done.
Yeah.
We'd have 11388 this. Again, like, I don't understand how they have names. Johnny Boy, Good Man Boy, doesn't get his name, does he? He just has it.
Yeah, no one calls him it. Then they're all, the other ones are just called like Derek and Clive and Chad.
Chet.
Yeah, like names have not evolved in the 1,000 years.
Weird. That's an interesting thing though, like, obviously it's talking about a different film, but I would have liked to see a de-evolved human after 1,000 years of like, you know, like actual regressed man animals.
More animal man.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
That's a better, less hacky film. Right, what we got?
Okay, so where is it they go? I don't want to say like, is it the Library of Congress?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is exactly the Library
I
of
didn't
Congress.
know if they were like, this is actually the Library of Congress, or this is what has become the Library of Congress.
Because this is right. So this point in the film is new to me. I tapped out as a child, always by this point.
Yeah.
Always by this point.
You're not here for the national treasure detour.
Like, once it wasn't the fun sci-fi Space Wars, I'm tapping out. So this was new to me.
The cryogenically preserved Benjamin Franklin.
This is where I'm going. I was like, I had to talk about it like being a fever dream, because when I was watching this the other day, at this point is where I kind of perked up, like sat up a little bit, just to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are we in the... Yes, it is the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
We're going to get this is also the crossover with I'm seeing with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes as well.
Okay, yeah.
With the big Abe Lincoln statue.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's obviously it's not the...
Abe Lincoln, did you say?
Whoever the fuck. Mark Wahlberg statue. I just like the sort of visual, obviously different places, different styles, but like the visual of it made me think of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And I never up until this point thought of Planet of the Apes, but from this point on, it's Planet of the fucking Apes. Like, the film has just switched to me. Like, I'm seeing, again, I'm thinking he's watched Brazil, but no, he's turned on fucking 1971's Conquest of the Planet of the Apes or something. Yeah, this is fucking weird. This is the Declaration of Independence as well, isn't it?
Yeah, the most inspiring, the key foundational text.
Everything else, because he's learning about, like, history here.
Yeah.
Like, and none of it really
like,
matters.
they're all pig ignorant,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Johnny Goodboy is like, hang on, wait, and he has this enlightenment moment of finding the
And it's the
Declaration
one
of
thing, 'cause
Independence,
that's it,
and it
like,
inspires
And
them.
you're thinking, if you're going through all the history of, like, man, you're like, oh, the internet now, what the fuck? Who gives a shit about
The
that?
sum total of human knowledge boils down to the Declaration of...
that is stupid. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
It's my only real chuckle in the film. Yeah, it's stupid. This is the inspiration now for Johnny Boy to
Stage a fight back.
back, the rebellion.
Well, Travolta threatens them because he's like, we eradicated your entire race in a 9-minute fight, or we eradicate your best generals in a 9-minute fight. And I was like, 9 minutes is one of those times which is just like, it's in the middle. It either needs to be like a 1-year siege, or it needs to be like 30 seconds of like, if you're a super advanced alien race, presumably you can just press a button and you're like, that's it. Like,
Yeah,
human,
I can't
it's
remember.
obliterated. But 9 minutes, I'm like, what was going on? What does that look like?
Well, what was it? Who the fuck said that? The whole... It might have been Philip K. Dick or something. I have no idea. But it said that World War III would have been 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
then World War Force fought
Fought
with
Sticks
sticks
and
and stones.
Stones,
Yeah.
yeah.
And 3 minutes is like a believable number that you could set off all the bombs.
Exactly, yeah.
and
3 minutes
destroy
is fine.
everything. From
Yeah.
detonation to done, 3 minutes makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
9 minutes, no. It has
Yeah,
to be
human on human conflict for 3 minutes, whatever. But like, if you're a super advanced alien race who discovers like a planet of like, it's like, oh yeah, I kicked that ant colony's ass. I
Yeah.
destroyed them in like 9 minutes with my nuclear bomb, or like with my grenade and my termite mound. I killed them all in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a little.
And even then, it makes me think of Tim Burton again, because it makes me think of Mars Attacks.
Yeah,
And that's,
yeah.
you know, like, stop making me think of Tim Burton. You're not
Travolta then threatens them all, where like I think he suspects that the men animals are planning a fight back, and so he takes them down to the range and shoots, and
Cows,
he's like,
isn't it?
"Oh yeah, shit, he blows up a cow,
Goes
doesn't
to
he?"
the cows. I remember
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah.
I told you I'm not going to remember much about this film, but I'll remember when John Travolta shoots a fucking cow.
Yeah. And then he turns to John Goodboy and he says like, "Tell them I graduated top marksman
Yeah.
at my class. Tell them I did this, I did this, I did this."
Which I like this bit, because this is the part where I'm like, oh, he's a fraud. Like,
It's good that he has character. I
yeah,
like
I'm
it.
I like this fraudulent. Like 9 minutes. Don't look it up. You know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
exactly,
destroyed
yeah.
all your guys.
He's the
Like,
Zap Brannigan
yeah,
of the cyclists.
I shot a cow in the best
Gif,
marksman.
I've made it with a woman. Form the men. And that's why it's just good that he has John Goodboy as that translator,
yeah.
because what would you do otherwise? And he gives like John Goodboy his list of credentials, and then John Goodboy just kind of passes it on with like, yeah, he's good at shooting.
But what works as well? This comes into fucking play later on.
Yeah.
When Good Boy has his gun,
Yeah.
and he's like, he gives it back to him.
Yeah.
Like, because he's scared of his fucking
Yeah.
rhetoric that he's been using throughout
Yeah.
it. So like, the film is shit, right? But like this little development, this little Zap Brannigan-ness, I'm all for it. The big imposter Klingon warlord, 100%. Because then I'm like, give me that film, because he didn't do the senator's daughter. He was a coward or something. Like, even that's probably to make him look cool or something. This is my most invested part I've ever been at the film, is when they're with John Travolta and. I don't really know what's
You
going
just
on.
have it be a buddy comedy with John
and
Boy
Johnny,
and John on the road.
Love it.
We're not so different, you and I.
I love it.
Long Tongue Woman is my next note. And I read in the IMDb that Kelly Preston has a cameo. So I'm going to guess, was she the Long Tongue Woman? Yeah. There's a woman with a long tongue. A cyclo with a long tongue. Okay, my next note is genocide, which is rather uncomfortable given the narratives that are playing out in global politics right now. But
I just want to say, when I'm talking about John Travolta being gay, you're all grabbing the collar. And
but I'm like, Battlefield Earth is about Israel and Palestine, which I didn't mean to say earlier. I was like, oh, the whole like thing of cyclos being like gold loving alien. I was like, oh no, do not tell me this is another anti-Semitic thing. But we don't want to go down that path.
No. And
but
they don't.
anyway,
And to Elron's credit, they don't.
I don't know about Scientology.
No. In the film,
I'm
if
assuming
you're just watching the film, other than they like go, they don't all look like Watto or something. You know what I mean?
To my eyes, to my incredibly ignorant eyes,
like,
it doesn't seem like this is standing in for any races or religions or anything. It's just the idea of like a fight back when the humans are like, we need to genocide them.
Again,
we need to wipe all the cyclos out.
But that is the simple,
and destroy their home planet.
If you take away the metaphor, over the next 1,000 years, humans are going to be enslaved by psychologists.
Yeah.
We should exterminate psychologists. Then we'll have McDonald's. Life will be good.
Okay, so that's because they do. Are they like? Do they decide that they need to? Like that's what, because they're specifically not like we need to free ourselves or like we need to genocide them all, because they speak about like destroying their home planet or something, don't they? Which is like a big leap to take, considering half your people didn't know what a triangle was 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to get bigger leaps very soon anyway.
My next note is the zoo shot, when like all of the man animals are kept in a cage, and it's kind of like fitting. I was like, oh, this is the man animal motif of like they're being treated like animals because cyclos are kind of walking around looking at them all in this cage. That was kind of nice. Next note, oh, friendly bartender. Do you remember that?
I don't.
I can't remember the context.
I can't remember fucking...
Because I'm so sorry, listeners. Forrest Whitaker, who we haven't really spoken about at all, which he'll probably be grateful for, there is some inter-cyclo conflict, and at one point, like, John Travolta decapitates another cyclo, and he just brings it in, like, and he just delivers, like, it's a great line because he just hams it up to the 9th degree where he's like, oh, what about, friendly bartender. That's what he says when he pulls the head out.
Okay, that is good, by the way, though. It's very Klingon as well.
Yeah.
I'm waving in and out, though, at this point, probably.
Yeah. So, I have some IMDb trivia here.
Good.
When the book was first written, John Travolta wanted to make the movie and star as Johnny Goodboy, the young hero. However, he could get no investors to back him because of the project's association with Scientology. By the time the movie was made, he was too old to play the part of a hero, and instead opted to play the part of the villain Turl. So, good on him for not having the vanity to play John Boy anyway, because I know certain people, Warren Beatty, would have just ploughed on relentlessly. We'll speak about it doubtlessly when we get onto the awards. What do you think of John Travolta as Turl?
I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, I don't know.
Because I think he would have been dreadful as Johnny Goodboy,
but
I like him as the campy, over-the-top
that's
villain.
It's captivating.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's
He's not dull. When he's
chewing
chewing the
you need to
scenery...
make the distinction, though, that subjectively it makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
Objectively, it's a terrible performance. Right? Like...
What is art?
Well, yeah. You stick him in There Will Be Blood with that performance, and you're not going to be... Oh, you know what?
Raging line.
There's
Only bartender.
Yeah, like, you've got... It's... I don't know. It's distracting. It's distracting because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
That's if Whitaker is chewing through the scenery and there's other people having fun.
I kind of like that he's just a weirdo being sent on this journey that's beneath him.
If he played it straight,
like a pantomime villain.
If he played it straight, it would be unwatchable.
Yeah.
So like it's weird. Like he has to do this to make it watchable.
Yeah. Good instincts. Good instincts.
But yeah, I'm not gonna, because he does this again when Fred Durst directs him, and I have a blast then. So like maybe you're right. Maybe
interesting, because I hate him in The Fanatic and I hate him in Gotti, but I am absolutely here for him in Battlefield Earth.
Strange.
Weird, yeah. Okay, so my next note: does he eject in time? Because when the humans are committing their fight back against the Cyclos, one of them does a suicide bombing of he flies his plane. He does that on Independence Day. He flies his plane into the Cyclo's ship. He does a Last Jedi.
He does.
But they're clear to show that he hits the eject button, and I'm like, I don't see him. I don't see him exit, and also. Into what? Because he's just ejected himself.
That's definitely a post, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The audience did
that's
not
exactly. That's an insert shot of like just get a close up of a hand pressing a button.
I thought, this is ridiculous. Again, they didn't know what a triangle is, but now they're flying jet fighters. I absolutely. This big battle. It's awful. It's absolute fucking stupid.
Because it's like, on the one level, the graphics and like the way the spaceships fly, it's kind of okay.
No.
In that I'm like, okay, you're moving on like multiple axes of movement. It's not like super cheap, but at the same time, it looks like CGI that's like the lowest rung of CGI, where you'd be better off just using a model.
Yeah,
right, it looks.
But then I'm stepping in here because I get pissy about this shit. As a big Star Trek nerd, we are in 2000, so we're like on the end Deep Space Nine and Voyager at this time. Deep Space Nine was the last one to use models to transition into CGI. Okay. There's ropiness in there, mid-90s, of course there is. But you get to a point, this is TV as well, you get to a point where you can do like space battles and land battles. Yeah. And Voyager can go further. Like 2000, 2001, you start rolling with that. That's a TV show, and it looks so much fucking better. You could have just used like you said, a little mixture. We can use base as models,
Yeah.
and then we can fill them up with some CGI pod racers, essentially.
Yeah.
Like a real set with real miniatures, and then
Yeah.
we'll CGI in the pod racers. That looks fucking amazing for other things. Even if it looks dated, this looks shit. This looks shit at the time.
Yeah, it looks cheap and like
'Cause it
the
is.
yeah. I just mean I think it's like storyboarded and like the movement. It's kind of mapped out
it,
quite
it
well.
is because like it has to be. You can't just
Just,
clash
like-
toys together.
No, but you know when you watch these things and they're just choreographed incredibly poorly.
Yeah.
And it's just like Star Trek, obviously, with the grabbing someone on the shoulder and then just limp. I'm like, okay, this is kind of thrilling. The camera movements and some of the stuff is just like it's choreographed a little better than I expected it to be. It just looks like their reach exceeds their grasp kind of thing. I guess is what I was saying when I was expecting purely static camera Kevin Smith side on chasing spaceships. So the battle is winding to a close, driven primarily by like suicide bombings and people crashing things into other things. The man animals have kind of got the cyclos on the run, and then they destroy a building. And I thought that it said somewhere that Battlefield Earth was filmed in Canada, and for one horrible moment I thought it might have been filmed in Vancouver, because the building they blew up, it reminded me a little bit of the Vancouver courthouse, in that it's this long glass building that's kind of like a skyscraper on its side, and it's very longer than it's tall, but it's not. This was shot in Quebec, and so we just get these scenes of destruction of like, is this on the Cyclo homeworld that they blow up like the Cyclo glass building? I don't know.
I think so. Because I passed out before the end, and I've literally seen the battle bit,
Yeah.
and then the final shots to see what happened.
Yeah.
How it got there, I don't know. This is me asleep. I passed out.
Yeah, this is 50% of the film just being a bit like that and
I've
struggling
seen
to hold.
Whittaker teaming up with the humans
Yeah.
and turning into a good Cyclone,
Yeah.
and Travolta in his cage. That's it. That's what I remember.
Well,
yeah. Good guys win.
That's it. That's my final note. Now
got-
he's the one in the zoo
Yeah.
because he's John Travolta ends up getting having to answer for his crimes. He gets imprisoned, and we end on the kind of Indiana Jones shot of. It might not do this. In my head, it pulls out, and we just see John Travolta sitting alone in a cage.
I got
Turl will return in Battlefield Earth 2.
I the way I pictured it in the cage was the end of Godfather 2. Barry Pepper's leaving, the doors closed.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there in his cage.
Amazing. So that concludes Battlefield Earth. As I was saying earlier, though, the film relatively uninteresting.
Really is.
Most of the interesting stuff is the narrative surrounding the film. So I have a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, well before
hit you
you
with.
get there, I'll wrap my little before any other opinions. I do want to say you're right. This film isn't good. It's boring. Without Travolta, it's unwatchable.
Yeah.
We haven't really commented on Whittaker or Pepper or the other cast because they do fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Barry Pepper as well. I'm a fan in other things. Here, fucking nothing. Just like the blandest, most stalest character you can ever be with nothing. And the same with Whittaker. Like he doesn't get to chew as much. He doesn't get the campy lines and stuff that Travolta gets. So he does
In
suffer
his
a lot.
defense, that would be a nightmare. Like Travolta works because he has a straight man. Like if all of the cyclos were just like these hams, it would get so annoying.
It would be, but you've got to think you can have at least two hams. You know, you can give me.
No, I think he Forrest Whitaker does nothing.
No,
I
it
think
doesn't
he
have
needs
to be
more of
Whittaker,
a
but it could be a character. It could be something like that's when I'm talking like there's nothing.
Nicolas Cage.
There's-
as I said.
Well, that's it. Nick, give me that film, and it's a different film. But yeah, so there isn't much to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
it is really boring. It's the slowest film.
Yeah.
Like people say this shit about Inchon. Inchon's a fucking ride compared to Battlefield Earth. Like,
Yeah.
edge of your seat fucking roller coaster with generals sitting talking for half an hour. This is so fucking boring. It's the biggest sin. I don't know how it would have ever taken a sequel, but I would have been intrigued to see a sequel. I would have loved a straight to DVD like who's under Travolta? Kirstie Alley is next in line or something. She's not doing anything. 2004. Like, give me the sequel.
No, he has to be in it. Like, Travolta would come back.
Danny
They
Masterson.
break him out. Oh, God.
I'm running out of Scientologists here.
Yeah,
Will
yeah.
Smith.
So, A Battlefield Earth 2 was planned and would have covered the second half of the book. So, it was the June of its day.
Yeah.
It was set for, imagine if Denis Villeneuve was like, okay, now I'm going to present my version of Battlefield Earth.
Hell yeah. It'd be good.
Yeah. It was set for a 2003 release, so it would not have to compete with Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. I knew what was good for them. With John Travolta, Barry Pepper, and Forrest Whitaker returning in their roles. However, the film was a box office disaster and the planned sequel was abandoned. Travolta was still adamant to make the sequel, though, claiming the original made $100 million when you count box office, DVD sales, video, and pay-per-view. But I don't know what kind of number it would have to do to justify filming the second part of the book.
So, 10-year-old me renting this 6 times.
Contributed, yeah.
Contribute a little bit.
Did you not say on a previous episode, or maybe off mic, that you had toys?
No, I don't know, maybe I had every other toy. Men in Black. When we were talking about all of them, I had Men in Black, Starship Troopers, I had RoboCop, Terminator, Alien, Predator. If there was toys out of it, no, I didn't have Turtle. No, they do look really similar.
Anyway, maybe I'm getting this confused with Lost in Space.
I had Lost in Space.
Yeah.
I had the Joey Tribbiani one with the mask that came. Fucking goddamn right, I had Lost in Space.
Anyway, it's interesting to me that there were Battlefield Earth toys.
Battlefield Earth, I don't think was theatrically shown in Scotland.
Really?
I don't think it was. I would have probably went to see this in the cinema. I went to see Lost in Space and Planet of the Apes, and actually I went to see AI instead of Planet of the Apes.
Oh wow, man of culture.
Man of culture.
Yeah. So, other pieces of trivia for you. John Travolta initially offered the director's seat to Quentin Tarantino, who declined.
So this is a rumor that's gone around for a long time. The same way he wanted Samuel L. Jackson to be Forrest Whitaker.
Okay, yeah.
I read it somewhere. So there's a few ways about this little story that's gone around. Apparently, Travolta wanted this to be Pulp Fiction in space.
Yeah, I heard that.
I think that was a quote that got thrown around a lot, and I think he just thought the recipe for that film and why it was so good was the director and me and Samuel L. Jackson, and that's the ingredients we need.
Yeah.
By all accounts, I remember trying to look up this ages ago, because Tarantino's been thrown around a lot for this film.
Yeah.
I think it was either, he answered the phone call for John and said, no, I'm busy, Yeah, it's not a decline, it's just you're appeasing a friend or an
It's
associate.
the same thing as Kevin Smith wanting him to play the guy in
Yeah,
Tusk.
yeah.
Of that would have been dismissed out of hand, whereas I could see him humouring Travolta a little more of sure, send over a script.
Yeah, but then I also imagine, and I don't have nothing to back this up, but because Travolta never appears again with Tarantino, I do think he probably was.
You think this is the rift?
I think he was sending them scripts a lot.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Fever 3 and Grease 4 and all my Battlefield Earth trilogy. I think he was pestering him. I think he was desperate to get back in the Pulp Fiction world and this fame again. I don't think he knows why he got successful again. I don't think he understands why Pulp Fiction was a good film. I don't think Travolta really understands movies. I'm going out there on a big limb here, but
I'm a little more charitable. I just think he's very passionate about this project, and he's like, if I can get the biggest director in the world to direct it, what I get, that will be for me.
You're gonna get that's when you're gonna get Quentin Tarantino, who's done 3 films as part.
Yeah, it's obviously moronic to get. Yeah,
I would have been trying.
But maybe they'd spoken on set, and Tarantino, he loves Star Trek.
Yeah,
maybe he'd spoken about John, I really want to make a sci-fi.
Yeah.
And then John was like, okay, well, I might have the opportunity.
And John might have heard the From Dusk Till Dawn story.
Yeah.
Tarantino and Rodriguez drinking tequila and writing it on napkins. And
in a different world, who knows? Maybe...
I don't think so, though. I think this is all very one-sided.
Yeah.
I don't think Tarantino's seen the film, I could guarantee that. But
yeah.
I don't think he was ever...
I don't think there was ever a serious possibility where he would direct this, but it's interesting to think about. So Tom Cruise was also against the production because he thought it would embarrass Scientology, and he was said to have warned Warner Brothers he thought the movie was a bad idea. This was later denied by his spokesperson, but all sorts of sources reporting that Tom was trying to
100%, because you think of it you probably were trying to get the big names of Scientology there, but you don't want to just make it the Scientology actors. Again, you're not
No.
using Kirstie Alley and all these
Yeah.
ones. But Tom Cruise is probably the best PR they've ever had.
Yeah.
And he is smart enough to know that this is a bad idea. Like, in terms of PR, and just, if it's going to bomb. And
Yeah.
when it bombs, it comes back on us. We look like the joke.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very, very well played for Tom Cruise here. I believe this 100%.
Yeah. New Mission Impossible, where Ethan Hunt attempts to prevent the release of...
And that's probably the reason there is nothing in the credits, like real mentions. Like, there is a based on Elrond.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but like it's not front and center.
No,
it would have been
yeah.
if Tom Cruise didn't pull it in. I think I'm pretty sure that would have
Interesting.
been. I don't know. I'm just making that up, but it feels pull it in a little bit.
Yeah,
Make
because
it look as generic and non away from Scientology.
Tom was obviously very close to Muscovich, and like at this point in time, so like I wonder how the church felt about this. Of like they didn't exactly put the Scientology approved seal
didn't.
on it, so I think Travolta was probably imagining like, yeah, they'll throw their full might behind it, and all my friends. And
Because that's the smartness of it though. Because if Scientology looks bad, so does Tom Cruise.
yeah,
And
exactly.
this is
Yeah,
2000.
this would be dreadful.
This is
PR.
the worst
Yeah.
time. This Tom Cruise is the biggest star on the fucking planet.
Yeah.
And you cannot.
And he's on the
He's
red
more-
carpet with his thing. Hey, everyone, check out my crazy religion.
Yeah, you've got to keep them. Yeah, 100%. Tom Cruise is more valuable to Scientology than Battlefield Earth.
Yeah.
And that you protect your asset at all costs.
Yeah, yeah. So you said the Pulp Fiction in space quote. John Travolta has also said that Battlefield Earth is like Star Wars, but better.
That's great.
Which, you know, you can see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
He also described it as the Schindler's List of sci-fi. Which,
Oh wow.
it's in horrendously poor taste to be invoking the Holocaust to plug your sci-fi franchise.
100%.
But I'm like, okay, if you have no brain whatsoever, I can see how you're like, this is a story of an oppressed people.
I'm sorry.
This is like
You said
Spartacus.
2 minutes ago, I'm going to defend him here when I don't think he understands movies. You're right. No. I'll give him more credit. It's like Pulp Fiction meets Schindler's List in space. Fucking hell.
It's 12 Years a Slave in space. It's Malcolm X in space. So yeah, that kind of concludes what we have to say about the film.
Yes.
It's definitely Razzie worthy. So the awards, which Mr. Razzie turned its way, obviously Worst Picture, Worst Actor John Travolta for Battlefield Earth as Turl, split with another film. I would perhaps say he's supporting.
Yeah, Barry Pepper's the lead to me.
Yeah, I agree, because he's the antagonist. He's not on screen half the time. Then Worst Supporting Actor goes to Barry Pepper in Battlefield Earth as Johnny Goodboy Tyler. So yeah, strike that, reverse it. Do you think Barry Pepper's Razzie worthy?
I'm not gonna defend. I mean, I could, but what's the point?
He's bland.
Yeah,
He's not great.
I'm not defending anything in this film.
These aren't the worst performances we've ever seen.
No.
Far from it, but no one's really good.
No.
So Barry Pepper said that had he known he would have won the Razzie, he would have turned up in person to accept it.
My man.
So Barry, if you want to
come
come on the
on down.
podcast 20 years later,
we're gonna get you that Razzie. Yeah, fucking right.
Forrest Whitaker was also nominated as Kerr. So yeah, he's not great, but he's just kind of bland.
Yeah.
I would strike him from the list. Really, I don't think he's. I don't think he's just in makeup, not looking like he doesn't really want to be there.
But that doesn't necessitate a good performance, though.
It's not
standing in makeup looking like you don't want to be there probably deserves a nomination.
Okay, fair enough. Then Worst Supporting Actress goes to Kelly Preston in Battlefield Earth as Chirk. So this is Mr. Razzie just going for the tabloid stuff because she's described as the cameo.
Yeah.
No women have prominent parts in Battlefield Earth. So yeah, don't really agree with that. Worst Screen Couple, John Travolta and anyone sharing the screen with him in Battlefield Earth win.
And that's when he's fun though. But yeah, I'm not gonna. We enjoyed the Travolta performance, but
Yeah.
we can't. It's not the hill we're choosing here, though. This is
Yeah. I do think you should choose a lane. I think you should be like.
Whitaker is probably the worst because they've got zero chemistry, and he probably has most of his dialogue with Whitaker.
Yeah.
Like just monologuing back and forward. So yeah, them two. Rough.
Yeah. At least at this point in time, Mr. Razzie hadn't yet like had his comedic awakening where he's like John Travolta and his wig, or like we're not getting multiple nominations where he kind of spitballs potential gags.
Director on Dutch angles or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, nice segue into worst director. Win for Roger Christian for Battlefield Earth.
Yeah,
that's absolutely
the biggest undisputed
slam dunk
in terms of every single part of it, in terms of like direction of actors, direction of the scene, any cinematography choices, any editing choices that are yours because it's the film. Your vision is so shit, and like it's so bad. And I did look up because I seen the name come up and I didn't know. I was like, "Who the fuck is this?" So I did have a quick Google while I was watching it, and it made sense that he wasn't a real director by all accounts.
But that said, like I said, it looks like half of it looks competent.
I think competent. You say competent, I say it looks mediocre.
I'm just expecting like it looks like a sci-fi movie in terms of the caliber of effects, but I was expecting like Birdemic levels.
No, you can't do that for 100 million though. Like you're gonna have to get something out of it.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit more credit to the director in terms of like maybe he was working with less of a budget than he expected, but there's certainly ways you could have reined this in and made it more tight.
An experienced director that had some films, had been through this experience, like top of the bill, would have known what to do.
And let's not forget that it looks hideous. Mm-hmm. And he said that the Dutch angles thing was him wanting it to look like a comic book. It doesn't look like a comic book.
It looks like thing, isn't it?
It looks like you don't know what the spirit level of the tripod is, and everything's just squint.
Well, that's it, because it's a movie, not a comic book.
Yeah. And then worst screenplay. Win for screenplay by Corey Mandel and J. David Shapiro, based on a novel by L. Ron Hubbard. So, Ghost of L. Ron, come on down. The screenplay is also dreadful.
Absolutely. I assume it's worse than the book. I imagine the book's hacky as shit, but at least readable.
Yeah. I imagine the book's going to be like derivative, but there will be like a clear... It's going to perhaps be like a friend of ours publication who chronicles the history of a fantasy realm. I imagine this could be someone getting very into the specifics of, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. So well, that concludes the Razzie worthiness of this film. Challenge of all challenges. What are the smallest changes you can make which would have the biggest difference?
Take a pick. You could, you could change any. This is like a fine dominoes. You move one, it'll fall apart. You can't fix one thing without leaving a gaping hole in another. You can't fix the performances without fixing the screenplay. You can't fix the screenplay without fixing the direction. Like, it's such a fucking mess. The special effects budget being restored to what it was intended to be.
Yeah.
Let's say that would probably make it at least better.
Yeah.
If it could distract me with some whiz bangs, attack the clones me a little bit, and try and cover me up with whiz bangs and effects.
Yeah.
I'd probably been more tolerant. I'd probably kept my focus a little bit longer. So that's probably my smallest one. Other than that, trim, edit, cut it down, put it as a TV episode.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of. Tales from Scientology, episode 1, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, I'm really, really struggling. All I can really say is if you made this if you injected more Dianetics into this, I would at least be more kind of interested.
It was longer.
It would hold my attention a little bit better. That's really it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be passive screenplay and just taking out some of the nonsense. Oh, here we go. Getting a proper tripod, straightening up the tripod. That would
shooting
be
it straight would go a long way. Yeah.
This is the easiest fix in Razzie history. Just that slight adjustment to the angle of the camera.
Smith in.
Okay, finally, I do have some information for you. because this was obviously like a long gestating project in that they attempted to try and make this in the 80s when British director Ken Anakin was on board. And it says here, a 30-foot high inflatable figure of the film's villain Turl was erected by Scientology officials on Hollywood Boulevard in 1984 in an effort to promote the production, and auditions were held in Denver. The low-budget project soon collapsed and Hubbard died soon afterwards in 1986.
Wow.
So
I have to find this.
yeah, if you can find a picture of the 30-foot Turl, that would be amazing. Oh my god, wow. See, that's what I wanted to ask. That was my question, was the Turl design. I was like, this will look quite different to John Travolta.
This is the Hubbard design.
So
that's what the Hubbard design is.
Listeners, okay, Kyle's just showed me a photo of a Wookiee in a gas mask. In the one on Hollywood Boulevard, he looks just kind of like a Fallout kind of character, doesn't he? He's like just a space suit with like a big trunk, or he looks like that spy from Star Wars with the rats out.
I quite dig the original Wookiee with a gas mask look though. If the film had that, you could sign me up. Here's a recreation on YouTube for them.
Oh wow, the Halloween costume for 2023. Everyone's going as Turl. Another interesting piece of trivia for you is that in promotion, like we said, this episode, unfortunately, were me and Kyle not sick. Well, we would have recorded it and not done any more research. But this is an episode which probably would have benefited from a modicum of research, because we've spoken about how we don't know how the Church of Scientology felt about this film. But apparently that they couldn't have been too against it, because John Travolta went on a book tour and signed copies of L. Ron Hubbard's novel to promote it, which was criticised by Mark Bunker, who said that when Michael Caine goes around to promote the Cider House Rules, he doesn't tour bookstores and sign copies of John Irvin's novel. Through the movie's tie-in with the book, kids will send in the card to get their free poster and eventually be introduced to Dianetics. So, I don't know. This was obviously like a recruitment ad of some form. Like, you've spoken about not liking it as a kid, so you maybe didn't get to the end. You're like, if you've enjoyed this picture, give us a call. But yeah,
I still don't know that still reeks to me of John Travolta doing that, and not the Church of Scientology doing that.
It's like he's not going around signing Dianetics. They probably can't really do much to stop him from signing Elron's novel, his side project. But you'll like this quote. Scientologist Nancy O'Meara responded to that statement saying, "Give me a break. That's like saying people are going to see Gladiator and then suddenly finding themselves wanting to explore Christianity."
Nice.
Yeah. There were also fears that, similar to Inchin with the fear about the Moonies, the box office for this film probably wasn't helped by the fact that people were worried there were subliminal messages in the film, and by watching it you would be recruited to Scientology. Wasn't true, but nevertheless, even having those rumors spiral in a pre-internet age.
Just keep your church away from your film as far as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that concludes Battlefield Earth. Join us in the second half when we will be covering all of the other winners and nominees from the year of 2000. Yeah. Join the church. Audit your thetans. Welcome back to part 2 of Watching Worst Films. We're covering all of the other winners and nominees. So, first up we have The Next Best Thing. Have you seen that?
I've not. I know that my sister's seen this film a lot.
Yeah. But I feel like someone I know has seen this film a lot, but I don't know.
I haven't seen it, so I don't have a comment.
Well, guess who watched it?
Yay!
So it starts out where I was like, is this Chasing Amy for Women? Because Madonna is a woman who is worried about her biological clock, and then Rupert Everett is her gay best friend, and unsurprisingly, they sleep together, and they strike up an arrangement like, you know, like, you be the kid's dad and we'll live together and raise our child as a couple. And I was like, for my sins, I thought this movie was heading towards he's gonna realize he's straight. It's gonna be like an odd couple thing of like they're gonna be like raising a kid and eventually just he's gonna Stockholm syndrome himself into heterosexuality because all of our friends are like, oh my god, he's so hot, what a waste. And in its defense, where it goes is infinitely more interesting in that Madonna meets Benjamin Bratt and is like, oh great, I don't need my gay dad anymore, I'm just gonna and is like, okay, like I can't remember the timeline. It seemed very compressed, but she meets Benjamin Bratt and is almost immediately going to take the kid to the other coast of the US. And Rupert Everett's like, hang on, wait, this is my kid. And so it then just becomes like a kind of Kramer versus Kramer custody battle. Yeah. And so like it's totally all over the place, but not uninteresting. It's certainly Razzie worthy, but it's not the disaster that I expected to be. Kind of an interesting watch. You'll have to hook me up with your sisters. Yeah. Our next best thing movie club. Then we have Do It For Mama, Little Nicky.
Oh, Little Nicky time. Our beloved Little Nicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both know this pretty well.
This is why Tarantino couldn't do Battlefield Earth. He was like, I'm busy. I'm playing the blind preacher in Little Nicky.
But I won't help you. Yeah, I loved Little Nicky as a kid. I loved it. Like this year, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It was probably my favourite this time I've seen it.
Neil Gaiman couldn't have.
Soured on it a little bit in bits. I call this definitely the turning point. There's definitely a jump from here to Mr. Deeds.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a jump from the previous film, like Waterboy, to this. There's a noticeable step down.
Yeah.
I still really enjoy it. There's still lots to quote and talk about.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the Silver Age, not
I agree with you. Yeah, you'll need to. So this might be another. This is definitely another video store classic of this poster is.
I purchased this on video. We rented it, but this was. I love this film so much. Yeah. I got this in Bulletproof.
You were a big Dogma fan, big Little Nicky fan.
Loved it. Couldn't get enough of it.
Was the poster for this in the R.E. Portakabin?
I believe so. I believe so, yeah.
Sounds insane.
Him sitting there, yeah.
Him sitting there in the big puffy jacket. Because I'm sure Mr. Mackenzie had a poster, or at the very least a prominent DVD or a VHS of Little Nicky just lying around.
Madhouse Taste, yeah.
Then we have the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas.
Yeah, like, you seen this?
I've seen bits of it on TV, but I've not seen it beginning.
I haven't seen it in a while. This is Billy Baldwin, Stephen Baldwin, Jimmy Baldwin, I don't know.
Stephen, I think.
It's one of the Baldwins.
Yeah.
For years I thought this was straight to video.
Yeah.
It does reek of that.
Yeah.
It's obviously we've got our connection to the Flintstones now with Cindy. What made the first one so enjoyable is the cast. We spoke about this, sort of that the props and the dynamicness of like the world they're living, the sets, the cast.
Yeah, it's new. It's like wow,
it works. It's fresh. It really works as a translation from cartoon to live action.
Yeah.
By this point though, I add 6 years on, wore it down, take away your cast.
You're not sold on Robert Baratheon as
Marcani. Yeah. That's why again, this is one I always talk about. Kyle MacLachlan. This was when I watched Game of Thrones. I was like, it's fucking Fred. But the second Fred, the straight to DVD Fred, it's not good.
And Jenna from 30 Rock played Betty. Wow.
all the hits. Again, the review is it feels like a straight to DVD film. It's the best way that you've Return to Jafar.
Yeah.
And there's still a connection there. Like Return to Jafar still has animators, but there's some Gilbert's there.
Dan Castellaneta as Robin Williams.
It's like Gilbert's there in Jafar, but everyone else is off. That's what this is. Like there's something missing.
Well, I will continue ceding the floor to you for Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
My time. Blair Witch 2, The Book of Shadows is the worst sequel to a classic horror film. People will tell you it's Exorcist 2. Those people are liars. Exorcist 2 is insane, but it's still, it has connections and it's a different film. Book of Shadows is literally a different film.
Yeah.
Tacked on to have a Blair Witch thing.
Yeah.
It is such and it's weird because it isn't a like rebranded film. It is intendedly made. It's got like people in cast and crew, I think, from the original, but it's such a straight up. You take away the found footage. You have this witch book that has all the spells, and just make it like I Know What You Did Last Summer style
slasher.
And that's such a fucking mistake. Like, you can either make more of Blair Witch, you can expand, you can go back, you can do anything. And to kind of do such a like, essentially kill a franchise in one swoop is unheard of, you know. That's Exorcist too. Yeah, it's really shit. There's nothing. If it wasn't called Blair Witch, no one would watch this. If this was just called Book of Shadows, I wouldn't be talking about this. Yeah. It is just here to make money, and I think it did make a bit of money too, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
This is a Razzie worthy film. I would actually argue this is more of a Razzie contender than Battlefield Earth.
Okay.
Because of that massive misstep and that like
Yeah.
Battlefield Earth, you can't really make a Scientology movie great, you know, but you can make a Blair Witch Project too. So yeah, no, it really sucks. I really fucking hate this film. Yeah, nothing nice to say about it.
Yeah, okay. So we're now moving on to worst actor. Sylvester Stallone in Get Carter as Jack Carter.
What do you think?
So on the topic of things that we kept
up.
saying, yeah, exactly. This is the one that we did not cover in our Sylvester Stallone special, as we kind of miscommunication. Neither of us had watched it. Also, humiliatingly, when I was describing it, I got it confused with Get Shorty. Because I was speaking about like, oh, you know, like John Travolta's in it and Danny DeVito's in it. And it's kind of like a screwball comedy. That is, of course, not Get Carter, which is the remake of the Michael Caine Hard Man movie. So Get Carter is just Sylvester Stallone swanning around looking glum. It sucks. And he sucks in it. John C. McGinley, our friend from Seagal movie, is in it. Steals the show, thank you. And Michael Caine has a cameo, which is kind of which is kind of nice, particularly coming in the week that Michael Caine has announced his retirement. It was good to see. I like when people have like the Cape Fear, like Gregory Peck. I like when they have that, or like the Sleuth. Kenneth Branagh's Sleuth and Michael Caine being like, I like when they incorporate the original cast members, so it was good to see Michael Caine, particularly with the news of his retirement. Goodbye, Sir Michael. But the movie, Stallone, it's a bad Stallone performance.
Fair.
Boring. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Sixth Day. So, have you seen The Sixth Day?
I have seen The Sixth Day. I like The Sixth Day.
Yeah, on the sixth day, God created man.
He did.
So did I say as the real Adam Gibson?
Oh, did you? Okay.
I might have missed that out.
So I like The Sixth Day. I rented this probably at the year again. Massive like Terminator fan, massive Total Recall fan, and for years I think I did merge Total Recall and Sixth Day in my head.
Yeah,
that's the one where he loses his brain and clones himself.
Yeah,
and, you know, and then he falls out with his wife, or spying on his wife, and I'm mixing all my Schwarzeneggers.
True Lies getting involved. Yeah.
True Recall on The Sixth Day.
And then Phil Hardman is trying to cheat on his wife.
But I do like The Sixth Day. It does feel too much like Total Recall.
Yeah,
it is a spiritual follow-up. Well, spiritual sequel to that style, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I always think it's earlier than this. I'm sure we've talked about this before.
We've mentioned.
I always think it's like 96, 95. Yeah, I like The Sixth Day. I like Schwarzenegger in it. I'm gonna defend it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, not one of my favorites, but like can't fault it really. Don't think it's Razzie where they think it is. Yeah, good genre. Schwarzenegger can all be classics. Then we have Adam Sandler in Little Nicky as Nicky. I'm too bunged up to attempt the Little Nicky voice, so you've been spared there.
I will say though, this is probably the most annoying Adam Sandler performance.
Yeah.
So, like, I like it and I can tolerate it if you are not into it. This would be his worst.
Yeah,
so fair play.
Yeah, maybe won't defend it there. Then we have Leonardo DiCaprio in The Beach as Richard.
You like The Beach, don't you?
I've never seen The Beach.
Oh, I mean, I've watched The Beach. A friend of ours, Doug, for the record, one of his favourite films.
Oh, okay.
Thoroughly fucking depressed me, and I was like, can we not watch The Warriors? I like DiCaprio in it. I actually enjoyed the movie. I actually thought it was better than its sort of reputation when it was younger. I've not read the book.
That's my thing. That's why I haven't read it, is because obviously the Alex Garland novel, I've heard that the movie is flawed, but the book is really good, and so I want to read the book before I watch the movie.
I don't,
but
because you can't
because
go
I'm
back.
an
You
illiterate,
can't watch the film and then go back.
But because
I
I'm
can't
an
read the book,
illiterate
yeah.
moron, I don't read books, and so I haven't yet got around to it.
Yeah, I like DiCaprio in it. Nothing bad to say about it. I didn't think it would be near here. So
this, of course, being the cause of the rift between Danny Boyle and Ewan McGregor. So he thought they were going to do the beach together, and then what's that I see? There's Danny cavorting with Leo on the beach in Cambodia. And then worst actor John Travolta in Battlefield Earth and Lucky Numbers as Turl and Russ Richards. Have you seen Lucky Numbers?
No.
Black comedy by Nora Ephron. I kind of want to check this out now. Lisa Kudrow.
Tim Roth, Ed O'Neill.
Yeah. Wow. Michael Rappaport. And Michael Moore in a rare acting role. Okay. I'm not going to read any further. I'm going to need to check that out. Then moving on to worst actress. Our old friend Demi Moore in Passion of Mind as Martha Marie Marty Talridge, Martha Marcy May Marlene.
Jesus. Alliteration. No, I've not seen.
This is just amazing because this is when we get to like worst actress, and it's just films that no one has ever
heard of. Yeah.
So it says here that this is the first English language film from Belgian director Alain Berliner, best known for the outer success Ma Vie en Rose, which is not to be confused with La Vie en Rose. Box office bomb and known mostly for Razzie success. We've spoken about Demi at length, so can certainly imagine her. Friend of yours, Bette Midler in Isn't She Great? As
Keeping our highways clean. Eh?
Jacqueline Suzanne.
Any friend of Krusty's a friend of mine. No, I haven't seen Ain't She Great or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
How is it? Did you watch it for the
No,
podcast?
I did not. Because I was too busy watching this next film, Melanie Griffith in Cecil B. Demented as Honey Whitlock. Have you seen Cecil B. Demented?
Go whip up the poster. I think I have. No, I have not. No.
So, Cecil B. Demented is a film by our beloved, I have a feeling this man is gay, John Waters. So, it's a sort of maverick punk filmmaker. Cecil B. Demented kidnaps Honey Whitlock, who's an A-list Hollywood star, and they're committing. They're basically cinema terrorists who are fighting crimes against cinema as they perceive it to be. So they're just running around, causing scenes, going into cinemas, doing the equivalent of like, "Hey, get off your fucking phones! Respect the goddamn movie! Why are they playing Pauly Shores in here? This isn't real cinema." And so like it's I haven't seen that much John Waters. This is my favorite film of his.
Okay.
Because it was reverse engineered to appeal specifically to like curmudgeons like me who would absolutely join up with this punk gang of misfits. It also has an incredible cast. Stephen Dorff, Alicia Witt, Adrian Grenier, also known as Vinny Chase from Entourage. Mink Stowe, Ricky Lake, Patricia Hearst, Kevin Nealon.
There's always an SNLer for me, isn't there?
Yeah. Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie.
And credited as Mike Shannon, little Mikey Shannon. Michael Shannon
No
is
way.
in it.
Ricky Lake connecting after Hairspray as well, being a Waters girl. It's all nice, yeah.
Yeah. And so they abduct this Hollywood A-lister and rope her into their scheme. And like they're asking her about they're just bombarding her with questions. And someone's like, are the rumors true? Like, did you sleep with Mel Gibson? And she's like, oh, and she's like, well, movie making is a craft. And Michael Shannon kind of interrupts with, enough about that. Tell me about Mel Gibson's dick and balls. Which is just a great John Waters film. And Melanie Griffith is a Razzie, perennial.
Yeah, she's always here.
And, some of them I agree with, some of them I disagree with. She is a little off in this, but her character is meant to be she's the outsider, so I think it serves the film, and I think this is undeserved. And Cecil B. Demented, probably the most I have enjoyed watching something for the podcast in a little while.
Oh, nice. A nice little review.
Then moving on, Kim Basinger in Bless the Child and I Dreamed of Africa as Maggie O'Connor and Cookie Gallman.
Both sound like Bo Derek films.
Yeah, the posters could kind of be Bo Derek films. Yeah.
So yeah, I've no idea.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them either. You, of course, are not a
I'm not a
Basinger fan.
No.
Daniel Craig is in I Dreamed of Africa, interestingly. Yeah, nothing to comment there. And then winner Madonna in the next best thing as Abby Reynolds. Completely well deserved. She's not good, and this is also in that weird phase in her career when she's metamorphosizing into a British woman. British women don't pump gas naked. Worst supporting actor: Forrest Whitaker in Battlefield Earth as Kerr, covered that. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the clone of Adam Gibson in The Sixth Day.
No.
Keanu Reeves in The Watcher as David Allen Griffin.
I haven't seen The Watcher. I perked up there when I heard Keanu, but no, that's one I haven't seen.
I haven't seen it either, but it's like a serial killer movie with James Spader and Marissa Tomei about a retired FBI agent who's stalked and taunted by a serial killer. Sounds kind of...
Add Ernie Hudson, like... leave the biggest name off.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be something. Keanu Reeves at this point in time was catching all the kind of like Dracula flack, though.
Oh,
so
it's way past Dracula. This is like...
Yeah.
Full speed.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Then nomination for Stephen Baldwin in The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas as Barney Rubble.
Absolutely. I would defend Mark Addy. I think he's fine as...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, though, like, no, Baldwin's dreadful. Like, it makes Moranis, you just want him back. Should have probably won. Baldwin's dreadful.
Yeah. Then, of course, the win going to Barry Pepper. Worst supporting actress: Renee Russo in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle as Natasha Fatale.
De Niro's best performance.
Yeah. He's dodged it now, but you wouldn't be getting that in later years. So has been all over that.
I seen it as a kid. I rented it. It was one of the rental ones.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much about it, so I'm going to refrain.
I think we got to go to a preview screening through my dad's work, and so I remember seeing it on like a Sunday or Saturday and just coming in and telling everyone at school, like, what did you do for the weekend, Jericho? I just saw Rocky and Bullwinkle and it was amazing. And I have never seen it since then. So cannot comment. Next we have Thandiwe Newton in Mission Impossible 2 as Nya Nordhoff Hall.
I love Mission Impossible 2. I need to say that right off the bat. People are wrong when they say it's the worst one. It is the black sheep because it's John Woo and it's fucking great. I always talk about my love for 2. Any nomination for 2 here from anyone, be it from Cruise to Limp Bizkit, I'm going to respectfully say nope. I love it.
I've only seen it once. It's a favourite of my mum's, so I watched it with her, and like scenes from it are just etched in my memory, like the cliff thing and Dougray Scott's like cigar trimmer. I don't think anyone is bad. I think it's a good movie.
Great, and it's only age bar because at the time I get it. I didn't like it when it came out.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, but then I loved the first film so much that I didn't like the differences. I could tell this felt different. And then when the third film comes out, I'm like, okay, back to the first one, and like, okay. 2, and then it carried on. But now, in hindsight, 2 is what I want. Like, that's
a radical departure.
Tom Cruise with like a fucking Pierce Brosnan haircut, like spinning dual wielding on a motorbike. That's what I want. I want him climbing mountains and new metal plays. I absolutely love Mission Impossible 2.
Then we have Joan Collins in The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas as Pearl Slaghoople.
Probably deserved him. Collins isn't doing her best.
Patricia Arquette in Little Nicky as Valerie Viran. What's it with Adam Sandler and double V's?
Yeah.
Vicky Valancourt.
Easy to remember. It's probably a Harley writing.
Yeah.
Vicky
Vale.
I love Patricia Arquette.
Yeah.
I don't like Valerie in Little Nicky.
Yeah.
Again, we're coming off like what you just said with Vicky Valancourt and all that, like the classic ones you remember and stuff. Yeah, no, she's
Katie Holmes.
Winona Ryder. But like I like her so much as an actress. It's like it's a shame to be here.
And then of course Kelly Preston with about 15 seconds of screen time in Battlefield Earth as Chirk. Worst screen couple: Arnold Schwarzenegger as the real Adam Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the clone of Adam Gibson in The Sixth Day. Don't want to give that the time of day. Madonna and either Rupert Everett or Benjamin Bratt in The Next Best Thing. I would say pick a lane. I think Benjamin Bratt. I think Rupert Everett is so good that some of his sheen kind of rubs off on Madonna. So I would say Benjamin Bratt, but certainly worthy enough. Oh, speak of the devil, Richard Gere and Winona Ryder in Autumn in New York. Have you seen Autumn in New York?
No, I have not.
Romantic drama. My mum's probably seen Autumn in New York. Nothing to say there. Richard Gere, any hot takes on him?
Nope.
Okay. No libelous comments about Richard Gere to make? Any two actors in Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2? Yeah. Okay, now he's finding his groove. Now he's the Mr. Raz who we know and love.
To be fair though, like you could have just said the cast here, because this is, like that's what I was saying, it's got that B slasher, I Know What You Did sequel. It's not good. It ain't good. It's warranted.
Then the winner, of course, John Travolta, and anyone sharing the screen with him in Battlefield Earth. Worst remake or sequel? Mission Impossible 2.
Yep.
Ridiculous. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That Jim.
Yeah.
Which is now a beloved Christmas classic. Bonafide.
Even at the time, it was kind of received.
There was a
by Grinches.
Yeah, but there's that Cat in the Hat problem where people didn't like.
Well, Cat in the Hat was like disgusting, but like people were like, "Oh, this is."
I went to see it in the cinema though, for the record.
I saw it as well. Yeah, UGC at the beach.
Packed cinema.
Yeah.
I think it was the Odeon I went to see it.
Yeah.
But I do
went
remember
to Pizza Hut afterwards and got a Grinch that spoke. This is now just becoming like the dying thoughts of an old man recalling his youth. So, this is my rosebud.
So you're very defensive of the film because it's a core memory in your life.
No, I actually don't think it's like, I don't think it's a fantastic film. I
actually do like it. I do like it.
It's nice whenever I see it in glimpses. I
can watch this one with the family. I could sit down. You can't give me It's a Wonderful Life, or there ain't no angel stopping me, but I can't do most Christmas classics. I can do The Grinch.
Yeah. I'm also going to say it's not a remake or a sequel. It's an adaptation of the book. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Get Carter.
Remake.
I haven't seen the original, but it's a bad movie. The sequel, the remake. Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas. Yeah, you said. And then Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Absolutely.
Which, from what you said.
That's a correct answer. Yeah. Like, Flintstones at least still feels like a Flintstones film. Yeah.
Worst director. John Schlesinger for The Next Best Thing. Which this is really sad. I don't think it's like, as I said, it's not a disaster. It has some redeeming qualities, but it is incredibly sad to see the man who made Midnight Cowboy reduced to directing Madonna in what would be his final film.
Yeah.
So yeah, not entirely undeserved. Brian De Palma in Mission to Mars. Have you seen Mission to Mars?
I haven't seen Mission to Mars.
Oh, interesting. I've seen every De Palma film apart from Bonfire of the Vanities. And now it turns out
I don't think
Mission to Mars.
No, I haven't suggested, but I don't watch any of De Palma's films based off theme park attractions. No, I would watch it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for next week, you're going to watch that, and I'm going to watch the Keanu Reeves serial killer thing. Then we have Stephen Brill for Little Nicky. So Stephen Brill isn't an in-house Happy Madison guy, in that he might have worked with him again.
Comes back.
Yeah, so he does Mr. Deeds straight after this, but then goes off and kind of carves out his own niche with Without a Paddle, Drillbit Taylor, which I was very fond of at the time. Movie 43, he was a segment in that, The Thread, Walk of Shame, The Do-Over, and then he's back for Sandy Wexler and Hubie Halloween. So
is The Do-Over not? Who's The Do-Over again?
The Do-Over is Sandman.
Yeah, so he's back with his Do-Over.
Yeah, So
I will say, looking at his credits there, he's the writer of The Mighty Ducks, which I fucking love, and D2, which I love, and D3, and also the WCW wrestling film Ready to Rumble, starring David Arquette.
Yeah.
I was many a watch when I was a child there, so I watched 2 of his films religiously in the year 2000.
It says that he was an actor, but he obviously had some kind of relationship with Tim Burton because he was in Edward Scissorhands as Dishwasher Man and Batman Returns as Gothamite #1. Yeah. So he was also in Sex, Lies and Videotape as a barfly. So he's worked with some great directors, but in very small roles, almost an extra. So Little Nicky, do you think that's worthwhile?
I don't think it's worth it. I think Little Nicky, as much as I've got problems with it, it still has so much imagination and creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to defend him. Yeah. I'll defend him.
Then we have Joe Berlinger for Book of Shadows.
Yes.
I didn't know he was an actual documentary filmmaker. That makes sense.
So, that ironic then you'd make the film that isn't a documentary with him, You hire the documentary and then change it to be a flat, still picture.
So that basically like derailed him for a little while because that was his final narrative feature until 2019 when he made Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. Because he made both those Ted Bundy documentary, both those Ted Bundy, like the documentary series for Netflix, and the Zac Efron movie came out in 2019. He made both of those, but you think worthy for
Definitely worthy for
this.
Bigger Shadows.
Okay,
Definitely.
and then Roger Christian as the winner. I'm drawing things to a close with worst screenplay. Next Best Thing, written by Tom Robluski. On the one hand, it's not great, but like I don't know how much of that is like Madonna and the bad acting. It's kind of like it was like a bit of a page turner. Like I was kind of like interested in the story that was being told. So I don't know.
Sure.
It's better than Chasing Amy, I'll give it that much. Then we have Little Nicky, screenplay by Tim Herlihy, Adam Sandler, and Stephen Brill.
I think the screenplay is better than the movie. Like I like a lot of the jokes. Maybe it's like translation to try and like. I can imagine goofing off in the writer's room and like writing Little Nicky, and it just some of the problems just don't translate. I always think it's a good sign when Tim's there on a Sandler film. It's one of them.
It's your seal of
It's
quality.
his seal of quality. He's his writer on SNL, and it carries over. He gets the Sandman.
Yeah.
Especially in the 90s and early 2000s. So yeah, no, I'll defend this. I think it's a really good screenplay. It's got good jokes. It's got a good idea, and there's a lot of funny things that I like about it.
Yeah.
And that are memorable. It's just some big misses.
Yeah.
Probably. And Sandman's annoying face. But yeah, no, I'll defend this one. Take it off.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, screenplay by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman, not David Seaman's the goalkeeper.
Not the sperm. Not the goalkeeper.
Based on the book by Dr. Seuss. This is really weird to only come for it as a remake and then the screenplay.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think Jim
Carrey's got the big bullseye.
Yeah, and Ron Howard as well. Like,
big name as well to dunk on.
Exactly, yeah. Very, very peculiar. For what it's worth, I think it's a perfectly fine,
I think it's one of the
good
best
screenplay.
Zeus adaptations, and
For sure.
it stays faithful, but it still makes it like a movie.
Exactly, yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. And then we have Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, written by Dick Beebe and Joe Berlinger.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, of course, the winner, Battlefield Earth, screenplay by Corey Mandel and J. David Shapiro, based on the novel by L. Ron Hubbard.
Hey.
So, that brings us to a close. We do, however, have the Stinker Bad Movie Awards, as we're in that sweet spot. So, Worst Picture went to Battlefield Earth. Their shortlist: Little Nicky, Get Carter, Dungeons and Dragons, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons is a big miss from the Razzies this year.
Exactly.
It's a fun film to watch, but that's a bad film. It's a big flop. You've got Jeremy Irons chewing through scenery. There's so much to pick there.
Yeah, that's one that, again, I watched in a fever dream state of, when I was sick as a kid, and I think my parents were watching it, and so I only saw parts of it, and it's just such a hazy recollection of that weird thing going in someone's ear. Deeply disturbing, and just, even as a kid, I was like, this is an absolute mess of a film. These are horrors which should not be committed to screen. So, dishonourable mentions: The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Bamboozled, Big Mama's House, Bless the Child, Boys and Girls, The Cell, Charlie's Angels, Coyote Ugly, The Crew, Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas, Godzilla 2000, The Grinch, Hamlet, Hanging Up, Hollow Man, I Dreamed of Africa, Mission to Mars, My Five Wives, The Next Best Thing, The Ninth Gate, Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, 102 Dalmatians, Passion of Mind, Pokemon the Movie 2000, Red Planet, Scary Movie, Screwed, Snow Day, Supernova, Thomas and the Magic Railroad, Vertical Limit, The Watcher, What Planet Are You From? Whipped.
Wow. There's a lot of films I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I'm quite surprised. Yeah, there's some big obvious ones there that perked us up a little bit there.
Yeah.
Hollow Man, one of my little beloved films. Should not be anywhere near here. Yeah, there's a few other ones. A strange year.
Yeah. Why is Mr. Stinker watching Thomas the Tank Engine movies?
I guess it's like
Because once you open the gates that wide, there's tons of stuff like that. Are you going to be watching every Paw Patrol movie and just like nominating it, I guess?
And then again, you get these complications where you nominate like Pokemon, but Digimon wins worst animated film.
Yeah.
And like,
Exactly.
are you watching all like? This feels a lot more like submissions.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people, yeah, this feels like a forum, like an end of year forum, people's favorite films or something.
Yeah. But where the stinkers never disappoint are in their weird categories. So we have worst on-screen group, which went to the Cyclos and Man Animals in Battlefield Earth. That's a great band name.
Yeah.
The Angels and Charlie's Angels, the Coyotes and Coyote Ugly, the entire cast of Dungeons and Dragons. Should have been the Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
That annoys the piss out of me.
The Clumps, Nutty Professor 2, the Clumps, the Old Coots and the Crew, the Scientists and Hollow Man. How can you get that annoyed at the Scientists? The Bacon and the Sisters in Hanging Up, the Tourists in Book of Shadows, the Women in Dr. T, and the Women.
Fucking hell.
Most unintentionally funny movie went to Battlefield Earth.
It's
not really that funny, is it?
They get the ones I'm glancing at here. Most annoying fake accent. Winner Adam Sandler and Little Nicky. Yes.
Yeah.
Worst song.
Not exactly an accent so much as it's a voice, is it?
No, I don't know. He's eating his jaw.
Yeah.
Worst song or song performance featured in the film or end of its credits was won by Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men from Rugrats in Paris.
Also noms for American Pie by Madonna from The Next Best Thing, and the child Taylor Momsen for Christmas, Why Can't I Find You from The Grinch.
LIMP Biscuit right here for Mission Impossible 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Most intrusive musical score went to Gone in 60 Seconds. Disney's The Kid was this year. Oh, it's a movie I've never seen, but I have the poster frozen in my mind for all time. Musicians or athletes who shouldn't be acting. Madonna obviously won that. The entire WCW roster in Ready to Rumble. Katie Lang in Eye of the Beholder. Leanne Rimes in Isn't She Great? And Mike Tyson in Black and White.
Well, I do want to say one last thing on this. The last category here is most unfunny comic relief. And that is my beloved Tom Green in any movie this year, Charlie's Angel and Road Trip. So, that'll come up in the future at some point, but Tom Green, come on down.
Okay, I don't want to deprive you of ending on that note, but we do need to discuss the other nominations because my Tom Green comes up here. So not only do we have Alan Cumming as the Great Gazoo and Mick Jagger in The Flintstones and Viva La Rock Vegas, 90% of Scary Movie, and the painfully unfunny talking Pitbull and Little Nicky, but we get Marlon Wayans as Jar Jar Binks in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Well, it's because Marlon Wayans in it is quite a racial stereotype.
Okay, yeah.
So he is Misa Misa,
Yeah.
Misa Misa Marlon Wayans.
Yeah.
So that's them being clever.
Yeah.
Clever with massive fucking asterisks.
I was just thinking, I was like, what? Jar Jar Binks in Dungeons and Dragons?
So
Did I miss that? Do I have to go and rewatch?
Pitchforks down, Jericho.
And this is just an interesting one. So, spoke about it on the last episode, the product placement of Adam Sandler films. We get a shout out here for most annoying product placement with Popeye's Chicken in Little Nicky, Virgin Megastores in Dracula 2000, but the winner goes to FedEx and Wilson in Castaway.
Yeah.
Which I like Wilson.
I
like that brand. They're my friends.
Yeah, like I again, 2000's still different. We haven't got like the worst of product placement things to come. I think that happens with technology increasing.
Yeah.
That's when
it gets more shameless.
Yeah,
for sure.
showing off a brand is not the same as product placement all the fucking time.
I guess like it's a tricky distinction to draw in like product placement can just be raising awareness, but like I'm imagining the guy who runs out to buy a volleyball because of Wilson.
Yes. Well,
just keeps it in his car anytime. Like, if I get
am
stuck on a desert
my
island,
line-
I'm fucked
yes.
without one of these.
My line is like Happy Gilmore's okay. Subway advertisement's fine. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. My bad thing's like Casino Royale, where everyone's got Sony Vaio laptops pointed at the camera with like perfectly clean, like everything has to be Sony or something. That's where I'm like,
Yeah.
You're tilting it to the camera. Like, if you're gonna put an advert in it, just fucking slap it in. Like FedEx and Castaway. I'm okay with that. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if Tom Hanks kept finding FedEx things washing up, and I really need.
If a Big Mac washes under the beach.
I'm so hungry. Yeah.
If he just has a fantasy scene where he's ordering from Deliveroo, remembering his life back in civilization. Okay, that brings us to a close for another week. So you can email us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com, and you can follow us on social media where we are Watching Worst. We do actually have some correspondence,
Yeah.
which wasn't written down.
It was a verbal correspondence. So,
yeah, so you can get in touch with us by contacting us on social media, emailing us, or if you work with Kyle, then that unique means is available
So
to
if
you.
you're one of the 10 people that work with me, yes. So one of my colleagues, Mr. Boyd, I won't dox your entire information out. Just brought
No, that's not right. Let's say...
So he brought up a valid point. He was about our criticism of Catwoman, which he was quite offended by. I was like, oh, like, do tell. So, and this is his words, not mine, that Halle Berry in the 2004 Catwoman film is iconic.
Yeah.
And the film is a bit of a gay classic by all accounts. Halle Berry is fun and like if you look at it through the lens of campy fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a classic. It's a cult gay classic basically, and we got that wrong as two cis scum men, that white men. We didn't get it. We didn't appreciate it.
You didn't mention that we're straight, which is the pertinent point here.
No, it doesn't matter.
But yeah.
So he was just he liked Catwoman.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to point that out. I did tell him to write in so I wouldn't paraphrase, but the bastard didn't. So
what I'm getting here is
basically
that big fan of the show and would like to continue with our...
So, and further correspondence from Mr. Boyd says, if you like this podcast, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, or whatever the hell we do these days. But no, he just wanted to point out that it has that sort of lens. And when he said it, I did click. I was like, oh yeah, like Pfeiffer is what I think of as like a straight man. That's probably what inspired fetishes and people and all this. But Catwoman, when you think of it in that different lens, like, yeah, I can see why she does have that, and I hate to say it, that slay sort of queen, that's
absolutely,
modern. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah. So thank you for that contribution. That's why we like soliciting listener contributions, is just to get that perspective, which isn't me and Kyle, who are perilously close to being the same person in terms of our reference point. So yeah, we do have massive blind spots with things like that, not knowing how treasured Catwoman is by the gay community, which I'm now just imagining going to like a gay club and just seeing everyone playing basketball while Scandalous plays.
It's going to be like the club scene, in
Catwoman. Of course.
Halle Berry will be fucking dancing about, smacking people with a whip. Great fun.
As opposed to when we go clubbing and New Order's playing and everyone's just covering themselves in blood.
I thought you were going to make when we sneak into Babylon to guerrilla film your short movies.
Yeah, Jericho's new film coming to a screen near you. So that concludes this episode of Watching Worst Films, and you can join us next week when Kyle, I'm going to give you the floor as... This is what the podcast has all been building
to. It's all about this.
Only 2 movies left to cover, so you could perhaps work out what is coming next week.
We absolutely could. But, spoilers. My final pillar. My favourite film and the entire Razzie winners. A certain 2001, Tom Green, Freddy's Gonna Get Fingered. my girlfriend Sophia won't even say the name of the film. she just calls it like FGF or something. Yeah,
Freddy's Fun
the
Time.
Freddy film. So I can't wait.
Freddy and a fistful of fingers. For a few Freddys more.